Hello everyone, welcome. My name is Viliam and today we'll spend most of the time in Request Access Wizard. Let's go straight in. Today's agenda will be pretty short. We'll do some overview about the Request Access feature as such. We will spend most of the time in the midpoint, in the demonstration and in the configuration files. Then I'll throw in some tips and tricks, some discussion about the future of this feature, and we will close up with Q&A and polls. As for the overview, Midpoint, I wouldn't say since beginning, but for a long time, Midpoint had a request access feature where users could ask for new accesses, or managers could ask for new access for the users. However, until Midpoint 4.6, the UI of Midpoint regarding request access wizard was not very good, and the user experience wasn't very good, and configuration capabilities were quite limited. After 4.6, we did a lot of redesign and a lot of improvements in there. We improved user interface. Also, we worked quite a lot on the user experience of the whole process when requesting for the access. We thought about configuration possibilities. We had a lot of discussions with our partners and people who are deploying Midpoint. And we came up with the, I would say, the new request access wizard. We will spend most of the time today within this wizard and its configuration. The configuration currently can be different for each user, for different users. There are some defaults that can be defined globally, but for each user, it can be configured specifically if necessary, for example, via archetypes or via roles. This request access wizard also plays well with approval processes and segregation of duties. Let's go for the demo, since this will be mostly hands-on. I've created a Midpoint installation. We will be using Midpoint 4.8.2, which is LTS version of Midpoint. So we will go through the features that are baked into this release. So therefore, latest LTS release. I've prepared a little demo. The theme of the demo is Pirates of Caribbean. So I've created a bunch of users, created a bunch of roles and organizations that are related to Pirates of Caribbean. So let's start. Okay, session is out. In the beginning, I log in as an administrator to show you around, so that you can see how the demo looks like, because then we'll go through the two scenarios for two different users. One user will have the request access wizard that's pretty simple, the least amount of steps that the user needs to take to ask for a new access. And then there will be second, more complex scenario for different user, where the user has more options when going through the wizard. So let's drive through the objects that we have in Midpoint. So we have a bunch of users. There are, I would say, two bigger categories. One is pirates, and the second one I called army. I've used archetypes for these two sets of users. I've also created few users for each archetype. So there are, of course, Jack Sparrow, Gibbs, and others. And then there are Governor Swan and I think Judge or Captain Norrington. I've also created a few different sets of roles that we will use when going through the request access wizard. So I've created few roles that are related more to the pirates, and a few roles that are related to the, we'll see, to the army. And I've also created an organizational structure, because I would like to show you how this can be used to show roles or organizational units differently in the request access wizard. And in here, what's like the most or the special thing the special thing that you should notice is there are multiple levels of organizational units. I think 3 or 4, and we will discuss this specific thing later on through the wizard, because in there you can limit the number of organizational units that will be shown in role catalog. I'll talk about it later on. So I've created deep organizational layout about ships, let's say. So there are ships, army ships, other ships. The ships contain transportational ships, and there are few of them. And then there are few ships that are pirate ships. One more thing that I forgot to tell is I wanted to show the demo of the request access wizard also together with some approval processes, and also with some segregation of duties. Therefore, we do have here set of roles that have exclusions between them. So, for example, there's the role judge and there's the role pirate. Judge excludes pirate, and the other way around. Then there's also the similar exclusion between a pirate and prisoner, and between pirate and governor. Also, regarding the approval processes, role pirate and dumb sailor has to be approved by Jack Sparrow. Let's go with the simple scenario. We will, for the simple scenario, we will use user Turner, Viliam Turner. Currently, this guy is a prisoner, let's say, and we will try to ask for new access rights for this user, or he will try to do it by himself. So let's log in as Viliam Turner. Hopefully this goes well. He has limited access, and also, as you can see, there are only 2 steps that he can make when he is requesting for new access. Because in the configuration, we put a lot of limitations, or we disabled a lot of features and options for him, so that he has just 2 steps to go to ask for new access. Let's pick helper and pirate, I believe. And we are requesting for ourselves, or Turner is requesting for himself. And let's go to the shopping cart. Now we can see that that there is a conflict, and the conflict will be between pirate and prisoner. As I mentioned earlier, there's segregation of duties, and there's an exclusion between the role pirate and the role prisoner. So in here we can open the conflict resolver. Midpoint computed that there are exclusions, therefore we have to resolve it before we submit the request. In here we will take the new one, or because we want it, and we hit the fixed conflict. Now we can see the one conflict that we had was solved, so we can go back to shopping cart. Now there are no conflicts, so we can submit our request. Now what we can notice is, I refreshed the page, it took a second or so, that there's a helper. We've asked for 2 roles. The first one was helper, and the second one was pirate. So helper role does not have any kind of approval processes, so it was assigned to us right away. However, the other role has to be approved by Jack Sparrow. Therefore, we have to switch to Jack Sparrow to see our work items and approve it or deny it, so that Turner can get it if it's okay. In here, we can see I've logged in as a Jack Sparrow, and we can see that there is one work item, and that's assigning pirate role to Viliam Turner. we can review it, and maybe we can be happy that Viliam will join us on some tour, and maybe we will steal something, or I don't know. So let's approve this. Let's approve this request. Now let's go back to Turner to see how it went. Right away, on our dashboard, we can see that we already have the pirate role assigned. So this one, and this is, I would say, end of the first demo, the simplest one, where I showed you how simple the request access wizard can be if necessary. So for the users with the least amount of privileges or authorizations or the least amount of needs, the request access wizard can be pretty simple. We should go to the configuration options. For the request access wizard, there's no specific configuration wizard for this feature in the UI. There's only a user interface that is generated based on the schema of our configuration files, and that can be found in the system, in the admin GUI configuration. Hopefully this will load up. So if one needs, or if needed, the configuration can be modified through the user interface. However, we don't expect that much of changes through the lifetime of this feature, or through the life cycle of this feature during the deployment. So we more expect that the configuration of this feature will be done through the XML, through the configuration files. So let's jump to these files. As I said, the user Turner had one simple role, that was a prisoner, and the user does not have any custom specific configuration to him regarding the request access wizard. What I did in my simple demo was that I've configured the global settings for request access wizard to be the simplest one. So in the system configuration, where there is a global configuration, I've tried to disable the most options for the wizard. Therefore, all users without any specific configuration of request access wizard will get this configuration, and therefore they will get the simplest process. The configuration for the request access is located in admin GUI configuration part of the system configuration. And it's a pretty long file, but here it is. And in here, we can configure each step of request access wizard separately. Request access wizard has 4 steps, 4 main steps. First one is selection of the target, therefore which user we would like to ask for new accesses. Then there's selection of, or a second step is selection of the relations. Then there's third step, the role catalog, which we already saw in the UI. And then there's the last one, the checkout one, which shows the summary of the request. It shows the conflicts and so on and so forth. The default vanilla configuration, this is my already customized solution, but default vanilla configuration looks like this. Sorry. And there are no specific configurations for most of the steps. The only configuration that is here is for backward compatibility with the old request access wizard, and it only defines how the role catalog should look like. So I'll go through the configurations later on, and even in the complex demo, we'll dive in a little bit more into these details. I'll just go through the simple one so that you can understand why we skipped first 2 steps, for example. So with the first steps, there are multiple options, but the one that caused Midpoint to hide the first step for us is called allow request for others. I put there false, which means that midpoint or the user does not have any right to ask for request access for others other than himself. Therefore, there is nobody else to choose but myself. Then I've also did the similar thing for the relations. I only allowed the default one and I disabled the others, which means when midpoint compiled the configuration and decided to present as the wizard, it hide the midpoint did not show us the first two steps. Then on the third step of the request access wizard, we can even jump back so that I'll go. Okay, we already have the different access rights currently. So in the third step, there's a role catalog where we defined how the role catalog will be displayed. Therefore, what are the options? What are the sets of roles that a user can choose from? And on the checkout, there is configuration specific to the comments, to the validity periods of the request, and that's mostly it. Let's see. There's one more thing that I should mention, and that's one of the fixes or improvements that was done in the latest LTS release, and that is the feature that I showed you through the simple demo, where the user got roles that don't have to be approved. The user got them right away. And then there's also option, which is called default execute after approvals, all approvals. It's somewhere separately. And this option allows midpoint to process the request or the roles that are in the request, those that don't need any approvals, to assign them right away. If this is set to true, then all the roles, even those that don't need approvals, will be all processed and assigned to the user after all approvals are done, whether they are approved or denied. Let's go with the more complex scenario. For the more complex scenario, I prepared something for Jack Sparrow. So he's the captain of the ship. So he has a bit more access and also a bit more options when he's asking for new requests or for new accesses. Let's go for the request access wizard. Now we can see that the user or Jack Sparrow has all 4 steps available to him, and he can ask for accesses for himself. Then I've created a group of users which I called pirates, and another separate group which I called all enabled users. In here, there is option to do an autocomplete. So if I put here GIPS or GI, I'll get the autocomplete feature. The users also can be picked up via this dialog, so manually without the autocomplete. Let's go for all enabled users, because I would like to choose William Turner and the pirate who's called Ragetti. Regarding those groups, let's see how Jack Sparrow got his custom configuration of the request access wizard, how it was done. So as I told you, the default settings for this feature was set to be pretty limited. So anyone who did not have any specific configuration got the simplest way of or simplest request access wizard. But Captain, in our case Jack Sparrow, has custom admin GUI configuration in his role. And in here we can see that I've put in a lot more options. I turn on all kinds of switches so that I can showcase you the features in the request access wizard. So if we go through the first step that we just that we are just going through, we allowed this user or the user that has captain role, we allowed him to access for others, also for himself. This can also be disabled. So maybe in some cases, user can ask only for others, not for himself. And we defined custom tiles. Each group is represented as a tile in the specific wizard step to simplify the step so that the user can more simply pick correct set of users that he's interested in requesting access. So I've set up a tile, put it some identifier and some label. There also can be an icon defined in here as well. Then I've pointed to the, in this case, to the specific archetype, and this will allow Midpoint to list all the pirate users in our case, or the users that have archetype pirate. And also what I did and what should be done almost at all times when there's the need, I've customized the behavior of the autocomplete configuration, and I've customized the display, how the results are being displayed. So in here, if I put here A, so this is this is the customization for these items, search items, or search result items. Display expression. So currently we're displaying the second group. And then there's an option to say how many characters needs to be typed in before the autocomplete will start searching. And then there's also one more option that's called search filter template. And in here you can put in a filter that can be used to search for the user specifically, some custom search, because by default, the search is executing substring search on the name of the users. And the value of this that goes to the search is the value from the autocomplete text field. So if this needs to be customized, you can have the options for it. So you can customize this whole behavior. This one so that I don't fail on some next step. So we pick two users. Now we are on the screen that allows us to pick different relationships or relations to the role. So user, currently we are asking for two users, William Turner and Ragetti, and we will be asking for the default relations for some roles. This second step is configured in the relation selection, and in here you can disable other relationships, or you can set some other as a predefined one if necessary. So let's leave it here. Okay, and in here, here's our role catalog, and we will spend probably some time in here because there are a few more or a few different options how you can set up your role catalog. Well, there are 3 or 4 options that can be used when configuring this whole step. So first I can just quickly talk about the display style. So you can either use styles, as you can see here, or there's an option to switch to the tables. This switch or the predefined view can be configured in the role catalog step. There should be these 2 options, default view, and then there's allowed views. And as for the menu and the content of it, there are multiple different options how you can get the data or the roles of the organizations that users can choose from. First one in our configuration is the roles of teammate, which comically is the last one in the menu. this is the one. This is autocomplete, and this feature allows you to search for some other user. In our case, let's pick Norrington. And this will list all the assignments or the roles or organizations that this user have. So if you are searching for your teammate and you want to give your guys the access that like this one has, so therefore you can decide you want our new two guys have the judge role. You can use this feature. In here, there's also the autocomplete configuration, which have similar capabilities as the one in the first step. Another way of populating this whole role catalog is to use organizational structure. And in here, I've defined I would like to use an organizational unit, which is called request access. And I also limited the depth of the role catalog to only show 2 levels of organizations in here. So in my case, these are not organizations, these represent ships. So if you remember, there were even more organizations, organizational units in the 3 that I've displayed in the beginning. Under these other ships, there was an organization called the transportation ships. But since we've set the role catalog depth to smaller number, what the implementation does is it will show only the 2 levels of the organizational structure, and the last level will do subtree search for all the roles or organizationals or services or whatever. It will do the subtree search, so it will show it here as a whole. So you can even limit the deep depth of this tree if necessary. So in here we can, for example, pick a pirate ship called Adventure Galley, let's say. Then another way of populating this role catalog, there's a way or configuration called collection, and in here you can point to the object collections. In our case, I've created sailors and government, which contains, and those 2 contains pirates and roles that should be assigned to sailors, well, mostly pirates in my case, and government, which contains the set of roles that should be assigned to our army guys. So since we are asking for our pirates, let's go and pick a few roles from sailors. So I'll pick helper and dump sailor. This one, as I mentioned in the beginning, needs approvals. This one does not need anything. And in case of collections, there are multiple ways how to use them. You can either use your custom object collection, where you can define your filters or type of object that you would like to search or list. And then there are static collections. There are all roles, all services, all organizations, and probably even a few more that you can use. These are like default static defined collections. All these, of course, will be, or the search for those roles will be put together with your authorizations. Therefore, if user does not have any kind of authorization to search for roles, or for example, end user has only authorization to search for roles that have requestable flag set to true. Therefore, all these limitations will be put in somehow, compiled together, and the query will be correctly executed against the database. Therefore, you can limit also what will be searched via authorizations. Okay, so we've put in a bunch of roles. We picked a role of our teammate. Well, not teammate, because Norrington was like enemy of Jack Sparrow. And we also picked organizational unit. Let's go for the shopping cart, which is our summary. So in here we can see what we are asking for. And I made, well, it's not that big mistake. What I wanted to show you also is that you can, in one request, you can ask for items in different relationships and different relations at once. So I'll go for the manager, and I'll take the, I don't know, Flying Dutchman. And I will remove this one so that I don't have any kind of funny things in here. So in here we can see we're asking for assignment of the roles with relation default, and one organization where we would like to be a manager, or William Turner and Ragetish. We hope that they will be managers. However, we do have two conflicts again. So let's go and let's check how the conflicts looks like. So in here we can see our pirate Turner would like to be a judge, and there's exclusion between them. So let's say Jack Sparrow can make it happen. And also we do have Raggedy, who's a pirate, but he would like to also be judged since we ask for both of them, or we are asking accesses for both of the users. So let's leave this one, like it doesn't have the guts to do it, to be the judge. So let's say we would like to fix the conflict the opposite way. We can see here that now we're asking only for Turner, the role judge. We can also review the users in here, just via tooltips. And in terms of customization of this screen, what I've done is, in my case, I've created custom validities for requesting. So by default, here are around 5 values, like 1 day, 1 week, 1 month, or 1 year. But you can customize these values, and this can be mandatory, or this can be even hidden. And same for the comment. This can be mandatory, or this can be hidden. All that is configurable. So let's put in some comment. I'll put it this way, let's say, and let's say Jack Sparrow can only make it happen for 15 minutes. Doesn't matter that much. Let's submit our request. Right now, what we can do is we can go through the users and we can see what happened to those users. This will be, give or take, similar as with the previous one, the previous demo, the simple one. And in here, what we can see is our Turner already got our new organization. He's the manager of it. He also got the helper, because the helper role does not need any kind of approvals. And it's here twice because William Turner already had one before. And the second assignment is that the one that we created through our request access wizard, and this will be active only for 15 minutes. William Turner also got his judge role. And as for the pirate, there's a request access process going. the approval process going in, which we'll go through in a second. There's also a Ragetti in here. What we can see is the guy already is a manager of Flying Dutchman and has a role, a helper, which we assign to him. Since Sparrow is an approver for the pirate role and dumb sailor as well, we can see here that there are a few working items waiting for our Jack Sparrow. So let's say we would like William Turner not to be a pirate anymore, and we can also say that he is not a dumb sailor. Well, he was pretty. So we can reject this one. And Ragetti is a dumb sailor, so we can approve it. Yes. And now just to like see what happened is William Turner assignments. So pirate is gone. And for the well, William Turner pirate is gone, and we did not approve the dumb sailor for him, so he did not get it, obviously. And as for the Ragetti, what we've done is we approved that he's a dumb sailor. So this is it, I guess. Let's see what I forgot. All right, so the last step of the request access wizard was the checkout, and in here you could configure as I told you during the step that you can do a configuration of the validity, or you can predefine custom values if needed. And then there's also a comment section of the configuration where you can configure whether the comment should be visible or mandatory. There's also an option in here that will allow you to use on not only the predefined values, but you can also put this to false, I think. False. And in this case, there will be a combo box to choose from valid from and valid to that can be set to custom specific values. This is mostly it regarding the demo. So in here, what I try to show you is that request access wizard is currently pretty much configurable, and it can be or the behavior of the feature can be different for different users. That can be customized through roles or through different places where you can put the admin GUI configuration. Let's go back to the slides for a second again. So in terms of simple tips and tricks, as usual, you should disable unused options and features that are not needed. They should be hidden, or steps that are not necessary should be hidden. Most definitely, you should use proper authorizations that can improve the cleanliness or accessibility or the UI of the whole request access wizard, and also it should be more secure when the user does not see all the roles that he should not have the access to, and so on and so forth. So authorizations are also very important to implement in such scenarios. Next thing to implement is the autocomplete configuration. This is one of the newest additions to the request access wizard as a feature. In some of the previous versions, the configurability of the autocomplete behavior was limited a bit, and it's used on two places. It was the first step, which is person of interests, and the role catalog, the third step, and then there was the feature called role of teammate. In terms of user experience, we'd say that you should not use more than 3 or 4 levels of the role hierarchy, because when there's more levels, it will become quite full and there will be too many options to choose from, I'd say. And it will be much harder for users, I would say, to find the proper thing, the proper role, of course. In terms of future for this request access feature, we don't plan any specific implementation improvements in there, but what our plans for the more distant future are, or what we thought about was, for example, requesting for other users, which means if we would like to request new access for a team, which is represented by some organizational unit, not all users in the team should get the assignments. It should be in a way that the organizational unit will get the inducement for the team. Another probably usable feature would be possibility to add an attachment to the request, scan of some paperwork or something. Another feature that will probably be requested in next future will be improved configurability for role catalog, where we display list of the roles or the items that can be requested for. So currently there are options to somehow customize the visual side of it, therefore tiles and table configuration. And also there could be even more options to customize how the details of the roles are displayed for the users. And then there are a bunch of small improvements that could be made in terms of user experience, like in shopping cart, the last step when we displayed list of all the roles and organizations that we are asking for. Currently, we can see only how many users are there or for how many users we are asking. And the list of users is hidden in the tooltip, but there could be some list of icons or something better in there as well. There's also another idea that the filters that we use in the role catalog when searching for the roles, that they could be saved or pre-configured. So these are at least some of the features or improvements we would like to implement, but there are no specific plans currently for them. As for the conclusion, in this webinar, we went through Request Access Wizard, through the whole feature, how it looks like, what's the user experience of the new implementation. We went through 2 scenarios. One was the simple one, and then the second one was more complex, where we could see how it works with the approvals and the segregation of duties, and that the wizard is capable of solving conflicts. We also went through a set of configuration files, mainly that were related to the request access wizard. And for more information, you can go to our documentation as usual, and also all the samples or configuration objects that were used in this demo, they were also published in our midpoint samples. I would like to note, and it's also mentioned somewhere in the samples, that all these objects were a bit simplified in terms of authorizations, to make them clean and to make it more simple to go through the webinar. So if you would like to use those samples in your real environments, please make sure you implement proper authorizations for them. I would like to also tell you that there will be more webinars planned in next weeks. So there's how to search for information in Midpoint webinar that will be on March the 7th, and then few more. And we plan even more webinars. So every few weeks there will be a webinar coming. And I think this will be it for today's webinar.